Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. What if you could turn your kid into a millionaire by making just one deposit when they were born? Would you do it? I think most people would say yes to that, right? Well, I guess it depends on how much that deposit would have to be. Let's say you want to make your kid a millionaire by the time they turn 65, so right when they're getting ready to retire. If you were to deposit $7,000 into an investment account and leave it totally untouched and never contribute another dime, little Junior would have over $1 million by the time they turn 65. Now, 65 years is a heck of a long time to leave that money invested, but it's pretty incredible the compounding that took place. $7,000 going to seven figures. That's the secret. Well, I guess it's not a secret, but that's the magic of compounding interest. What if we were to rewind and go back 65 years to the year 1958? How much would you have had to invest to turn it into $1 million by 2023, 65 years later? We're going to go ahead and use the actual returns of the S&P 500 since that time. Now get ready, because this one's pretty next level. If our investor put just $1,600 into the S&P 500 in 1958, by 2023, that fund would have grown to over $1 million. That one to me is just jaw-dropping, $1,600. And this number is so extraordinary because the S&P 500 gave an annualized return of 10.4% during this time. Of course, this is assuming that dividends were reinvested, and that makes a huge difference. Because if our investor didn't opt to reinvest those dividends, that annualized rate of return would drop to just 7.29%. And if our investor invested that same $1,600 in 1958 and didn't reinvest those dividends, so they got that rate of return of 7.29%, the account balance in 2023 would be just $155,000. Still an impressive amount for $1,600 to grow to, but oh man, it really shows how even a slightly smaller rate of return over a long time horizon has a major impact. And there's a really good takeaway for your own investing here, like when you're investing for your own retirement, a journey that lasts 30, 40, 50 years, you want to make sure to reinvest those dividends so as much of your money is working as hard as possible. You make this designation when you set up your account and you can check on it or change it at any time. Here's one of the snapshots from my accounts. You want to make sure it looks like this. Everything is checked as reinvested. It makes a huge difference. Now, I love that the stock market has performed so exceedingly well from a historical perspective. Can we expect 10% over the next 50 or 60 years? I don't know, it seems a bit aggressive. Trust me, I would take it, I would love it, I think we all would, but I don't know if it's a return that we can bank on. Instead, I like to be a little bit more conservative with my projections, set the bar lower because if you surpass it, it feels good, but if you set the bar too high and you miss it, that doesn't feel so good. If you refer to the investment brokerages Vanguard or Charles Schwab, they say we can expect lesser market returns going forward, namely in the ballpark of 6 or 7%. But keep in mind, they have a pretty good incentive to temper the expectations of their investors. Clients are happy when their investments exceed expectations, not so happy when their investments fail to meet expectations. But if you're familiar with the Money Guy here on YouTube, and if you refer to their wealth multiplier, they use a 10.5% rate of return for 20-year-olds, a 9.5% rate of return for 30-year-olds, and an 8.5% rate of return for 40-year-olds, discounting essentially 1% per decade as time goes on. And that 10.5% rate of return is pretty darn close to what the S&P has actually done over the past 65 years. And these numbers are partly because when you're young, you can be more aggressive with your investments because you have a longer time horizon. And partly because long term, the market through all its ups and downs has averaged a 10% rate of return. But once you factor in inflation, the real rate of return actually ends up looking more like 7 or 8%. Now you can be as aggressive or as conservative as you want when you make your projections. Personally, I use the number 8%, and I've received comments going in both directions for this. Some people have said, that number's way too aggressive. Other people have said, that number's way too conservative. Nonetheless, it is the number I use. You can use whatever number you feel is best. I'm really excited to be partnering with Exter Wallets today. We've actually used these wallets for ages. This is my husband's wallet. I bought him this one months and months and months ago. If you have a life like us, these are a good wallet for you. Primarily, they are a credit card wallet. Yes, you can put some cash in there, but primarily they are meant to be a slim design and make it easy access for credit cards. I won't use a wallet that doesn't have RFID blocking technology, and these wallets do. And you better know, when a wallet says they have this technology, I test it out. Sometimes those wallets that say they have this protection, it doesn't work. But you can put this wallet up to a scanner, it cannot read your cards, you know your information is protected. The other reason I love these wallets, and a huge reason I bought it for my husband in the first place, tracking device. My husband has a knack for losing his wallet, and every once in a while he goes to work without it. He's in the service. If you show up on base without your ID, you can't get on, which means I get a phone call and now I have to search all around the house to find this wallet that he has no idea where he left. Well, nowadays, couldn't be simpler. This wallet has made my life so much better. Right now, Exter is having their anniversary sale, so if you use my link down below or the code ErinTalksMoney at checkout, you can save up to 25% off your purchase. I can't tell you how much I love these wallets. Now let's get back to this little baby that we want to make a millionaire. I love the idea that $1,600 could have turned into $1 million over 65 years. But remember, I like to stick with that 8% rate of return, so I'm gonna go with an initial deposit closer to $7,000. And if I'm wrong and the return is better and it looks more like 10%, well, little Junior can now retire with $3.4 million at 65, which is fantastic. While $7,000 isn't an astronomical sum, most Americans simply don't have $7,000 just laying around. But what if you still want to turn your kid into a millionaire by the time they want to retire? Well, you can do that by contributing just $60 a month every month until they turn 18, at which point the account would have roughly $27,000 in it. You could stop all contributions, let that account be, never make another contribution again, and that account would grow to $1 million by the time Junior was 65. But if I'm being honest, I don't really want this account to just sit there for 65 years. It could be totally left alone, compound interest would be in the background working its magic, the account would grow. But I think we can do better. As a parent, you already have a lot on your plate. 1, kids are already expensive, just from the get-go. 2, you may already be saving for Junior's college, so how much can you realistically set aside each and every single month on top of that? But I know parents want to help out their kids whenever possible. They want to give their kids a leg up whenever they can. I really like the way Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, how he's answered this when people have asked how much he's going to give to his children. He said that he would give them enough money so that they feel they can do anything, but not so much that they could do nothing, which is a really great line of thinking. Having some money creates possibilities, it creates opportunities, it opens doors. You never feel like you have less choices in life than when your account balance is at 0. You want to help your kid, but not so much that they become dependent and totally reliant on you when they're adults. You want to raise this little human being to the point where it becomes independent and self-sufficient. And part of that, a huge part of that, is teaching them about money. And I think that's a great goal with this account. You can start it, you can plant the seed, but teach them about the magic of compounding interest. And by the time they get their first job or they turn 18, they can start to contribute to it. They can start taking over that account and they can grow it. What if they took over this account at 18 and started contributing just $200 a month? Well, now that account could grow to over $2 million. If they contribute more, it could easily be several $1,000,000 by the time they go to retire. Or say they become a super saver and invest $542 a month or $6,500 a year. I'm using that number because that's the amount necessary to max out a Roth. That account could grow to $4 million. Now, of course, there's going to be one argument against this that I can foresee. I mean, we're already 2/3 of the way through this video, so if you scroll down, I'm sure that comment is there somewhere. And that is inflation. And listen, you're right, inflation is real. $1 million 65 years from today is going to be nothing like what $1 million is today. In the same way that $1 million in 1958 is nothing like $1 million today. Inflation is real, it's going to happen, but as the cost of goods goes up, wages tend to go up and people tend to adapt. But that just means your kiddo, who you've laid the groundwork for, has some work to do. They're going to have learned the importance of dollar cost averaging, and they're going to have to actively be contributing to this account in order to be able to retire one day. But that doesn't change the fact that if you do this, you've laid a very powerful seed to get them started. I was actually talking with my mom on the phone last night after working on the outline for this video, and I was talking about that $1,600 growing to $1 million from the 50s to now. My mom was actually born in the 50s, but the early 50s, so the deposit would have actually had to have been smaller. And I said, you know, if Grandma and Grandpa would have deposited just $500 when you were born, it would be $1 million today. If it was that $1,600 deposit, it would have been closer to $4 million. Her response was so cute. First, she was like, well, I wish they would have. I would have retired sooner. But then she said, I'm gonna do that for my grandkids, which honestly is awesome. Compounding works best when it has a really long runway. And what better time to start than when your kid is just a baby? Give them the longest runway possible. It doesn't take massive amounts. Small amounts make a huge difference over really long time horizons. So is this something you would consider doing for your kid? Let me know in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye.